by going to File, and I'm going to go down to Project Window. And then what we want to do is create a new project folder. So I'm going to click New right here, and I'll type in Cartoon Mouse. And normally I just save the project to my Documents folder under Maya Projects. Okay, so wherever you save your Maya projects, that's fine. You just set the location right here. If you need to change it, you'd click right here on this little folder icon. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Accept, and then I'm going to go down to my file browser here, and I need to go to my Downloads folder because I need the two reference images. Now these reference images are going to be in the description below this video. Okay, so download those. I'll take these, I'm going to copy them, and then I'm going to go to Documents, and then I'll go to Maya Projects, and right here is the new project folder that I just created, Cartoon Mouse. So I'll double click here, and then I'm going to go to the Source Images folder. So I'll double click on that, and then I'll just paste those two images in the Source Images folder. Alright, so now let's go ahead and set up these reference images. I'm going to tap the space bar, and most likely you'll have your grids set up here on all four panels. So let's start with our front view. I'm going to go to the front view panel, and I'm going to click on View. I'll go down to Image Plane, and I'll go to Import Image. So I'll choose mouse underscore front and hit Open. Okay. So here we have our image. Now I don't want this in the center of my grid. I want to offset it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where it says Image Center right here, and I need to move it along the Z-axis. I want to push it back this way. I want it to be kind of on the outskirts of this grid. Okay, my model is going to be right here, and I want to have that space open. Okay, so I'm looking at this guide right here, and this is telling me that I need to move it along the Z-axis on this blue line here. So I'll go to Image Center Z. I'm just going to select that channel, and then I will move my mouse over the perspective panel, hold down the middle mouse button, and just drag. Just click and drag with that middle mouse button, and I can slide it to the edge of the grid here. Okay. So basically, the value should be -12. Okay. All right. Let's go to our side panel. I'm going to go to View, down to Image Plane, and then go to Import Image. Okay. I'll choose Mouse Side. Hit Open. All right. So now we need to move this along the x-axis. Alright, so I'm going to go to Image Center X, and I'm just going to take a wild guess and say that's -12. Alright. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to be able to turn the visibility on these two reference planes on and off. So I'm going to select one of them, and I'm going to create a new layer. Okay, so I'm going to click right here, create a new layer, and assign selected objects. I'll do that. I'll double click right here where it says Layer 1, and I'm going to call this Ref Images. Okay. So if I click on the V for the visibility on this layer, you can see it's going to turn that visibility on and off. Now I'll just select the other reference image right here. Now that I have that selected, I'll right click on this layer and go to Add Selected Objects. Now when I click on the V, I can turn both reference images on and off. Now, I don't want to accidentally move either of these reference images. I want them to stay where they are. So I'm going to click in the center, in this little empty square right here, and I'm going to click until there is an R. That stands for reference. Okay, so that means I can no longer select those objects. Alright, so I'm going to turn off my grid in the side and front view, and also I'm going to turn off the grid here in the perspective panel. Okay, I can leave the grid on in the top panel right here. Alright, so we're all ready to go. So I'm going to start by creating a cube right here. I'm going to create that cube. It's going to drop it right in the center of my scene. Now, right now, I'm on wireframe. So if you hit 4, you're on wireframe. Hit 5, you're on shaded mode. Now you need to go to shaded mode on all 3 panels here, all 4 panels I should say. So I'm going to move my mouse over each panel and press 5 on the keyboard. Now I'd like to stay in shaded mode in my perspective panel, But over here in the side view and the front view, I want to be able to see through this object to my reference image. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to shading and I'm going to go to X-ray. Okay. All right. Now I want to eventually, at a certain point, I want to be able to mirror this object from one side to the other side. So I want to divide this in half. So I'm going to go to pcube1 right here. Let's rename this to mouse. And I'll scroll down right here. I'm going to click under inputs where it says polycube1, and I'm going to change the subdivision's width to 2. So now I have a line going straight down the middle right here. Okay. So if I turn on my grid, you can see that line is right along the axis right here. All right. So now that I have that set up, I'm going to hit R for my scale tool. Actually, I'm going to move it first. So I'll hit W, and now I can hit R. I'll scale this up, and I'm just going to shape out the torso of this character. So W for your move tool, R for your scale tool. I'm just going to block this out. I'll hit W and move it over here in the side view, and then press R, scale it out. Okay. All right, so we now need to divide this some more. So what I have here on my shelf here is I have a couple of extra tools that are accessed normally through the menu right here. If you want to add a tool onto your menu, like for example your edge loop tool, you can go to Edit Mesh and then go to Insert Edge Loop Tool and then hold down Control and Shift at the same time and then let go on the mouse and it'll pop up over here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to add in an edge loop right in the middle here. Once I have this edge loop in the middle here, then I can go up to the faces on the top and hit R and scale them in. Go to the faces on the bottom here and scale those in a little bit. So I'm just blocking out the character here. Maybe scale in a little bit this way. And then I'm going to go to Vertex, select these vertices right here, and move them up a little bit and back. I'll take the vertices on this side, push them out a little bit. Okay. Looking pretty good. We don't want to do it when we start modeling stuff. We want to stay. We want to keep our shapes as simple as possible. Okay. We don't want to get carried away with too many edge loops at the beginning stage. Okay. Because the more edge loops you have, the harder it is to modify the shape. Okay. So we want to do the best we can with as few edge loops as possible. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to go to edge here, scale those in a little bit, move them back, and I'm going to hit R and move them in. Okay, it's a pretty good shape for the neck right there. I'm pretty satisfied with that. I'm going to right click, go to Vertex, and select these vertices on the bottom and move them up a little bit. And then I'm going to hit Q, right click, go to face, select these faces on the bottom here, and I'll hit extrude. I'm going to move these faces down, press R and scale them in. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating space for each leg right here. Okay. So it created kind of a funny shape right here, a diamond shape kind of. I don't want that, so I'm going to scale this edge in. And let's see here, I'm going to have to go to Vertex. And I'll push this over here. Okay. Let's take a look over here. I'll select these two vertices here and move them out. I'm going to select this whole section right here and move it back a little bit. And then I'm going to move these out again. Okay. Feeling pretty good about this so far. Now I'm going to need another edge loop right here because the arms need to be extruded out from the torso here. So I'm going to go to my Insert Edge Loop tool, insert my edge loop here, scale it out, so I'll press R to scale it. Oops, let's see, I think I added too many edge loops right there. Okay. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to double click on these edge loops here and scale them out. Maybe double click on this edge loop, and now that we have additional edge loops to work with, we'll reshape our model a little bit. Yeah, something like that, I think. Okay, so your next inclination might be to do the legs or the arms. But actually what we want to do next is the head. Once we have the head modeled, then we can delete half of the object, and then we can extrude down one leg and one arm, and it will mirror to the other side. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the shape of his head, and you can see here the basic shape is a sphere. It's got a circular shape to his head right here. Now there is an exception with his nose coming out right here, but the basic shape right here is a sphere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a new shape. I'm going to click on the polygon sphere right here. And if you do not have this up here, this shelf, you can go to Shelf tabs and you can find it here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go down here and I'll click on Polysphere 1, and I'm going to change the subdivisions axis and subdivisions height to 6. So again, it gave us a shape that it had a lot of edge loops on it, and that's going to be really hard to manipulate if that's what we are working with. Okay, so we want to reduce the number of edge loops so that it's easier to create that shape that we need. All right, let's see here. So I'm going to hit R and scale this up. I want to match it up with our reference image here. Now I need to rotate this shape. Okay, so basically what I want to do is I want to attach these two shapes. So let me turn off my reference images real quick. So I want to line up the edges. Okay, so if we take a look here, this is going to be our opening. So I'll go to face, delete these two faces right here. So we have 6 sides, and the center line on that body, there's an edge going right through the center. If we look at the head, there's no edge going right through the center. So what we need to do is we need to rotate it. So I'm going to rotate, and now we have a center line on the head. Okay, so it's going to be, rotate Y is going to be -30 degrees. Okay, so now that's lining up. I'm going to turn my reference image back on. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to wireframe on shaded in these views here. So I'm going to click on this button right here so I can see the wireframe on my model. Alright. It's looking pretty good. Okay. So I'm going to go to the sphere here. I'm going to select all the faces on the bottom right here, and I'll just delete them. And then up the top here, I'm going to select 4 edges. Okay. So the idea is what we want is we want our model to have quadrilateral geometry. So we want each of the faces to have four sides. Okay, we can have triangles sometimes. We want to avoid them as much as possible. So that's why I deleted the edges up here, and I'll have to go into vertex mode here and delete this vertex. So now I've got four sides here, and then now what we need to do is we need to append. And what I'll do is I'll go to object mode. I'll select both objects. So what I'll do is I'll hold down the shift key. I'll click on the first object, and then click on the second object. They're both selected. I go to mesh and then combine. Okay. Now these two are combined into one. I'll rename this to mouse again. Okay. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to append. Now I have my append tool right here on the shelf. You can also access it by going to append to polygon tool right here. Okay, so you click on one edge, and then you have all these little purple triangles that show up, and then you just tumble your camera and then click on the edge, the second edge, and it will create a new face. What I'll do is I'll press G as in good, and that will complete the append operation, and it will bring that same tool up again. So now I can use the append tool again. Okay, so I'll press G. I can just go all the way around like this. Okay. So we've got these two objects now connected. However, we need another edge loop in here to reshape this. So I'm going to go to my edge loop tool, insert an edge loop right here, right where the neck meets the head. Press R, scale this way in. Okay, and then I'm going to move it back a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to modify the shape a little bit here. I'm going to take the center line here and just move it down a tiny bit. I'll take this take this row of line of vertices and move them down just a little bit. Maybe move this up a little. Okay. Looks good. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to extrude out his nose. So I'm going to right click, go to face mode, select these four faces here, hold down the shift key to select multiple faces. So you can see I've got those faces selected there. I'll hit the extrude button right here, and rather than extruding straight out here, I'm going to hit W, and I'm just going to modify that a little bit. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to press R, and I'm going to kind of flatten this all together. And then maybe scale it in a little bit this way. Okay. So go down a little bit here. I'm going to go to edge mode. I'm going to select these two edges right here, and I'm going to scale them in. Trying to round this out a little bit. Let's take this edge down here and bring it down. Round that out a little bit more. And notice how when I bring this edge down, it starts to match up with a reference image a little bit better. So I'll select this edge and this edge right here. Let's push those down a little bit more. Maybe take this vertex right here and push that down a little bit. We want to try and create more of a rounded shape. We don't want to have any really hard edges. Okay. Alright, so now that we've got a pretty decent shape on the beginning of his nose, we can now extrude further. Okay, so I'll press the extrude button, press W, and go straight out. Press R. I'm going to scale in. Press W and move up a little bit. Okay. Let's see here. Probably scale in a little bit more. Now I don't have a top view here, so I'm just kind of improvising here. But I kind of have a general idea of what I want. This nose should just kind of get smaller as it goes out. Okay. So I'm going to press extrude again. Press W, go out, and go up here. And I'm going to press E. And this time I want to rotate these faces a little bit. Scale them in a little bit. Press W, go up. Trying to follow my reference image here. Maybe rotate it a little bit more. And I probably should have rotated this whole row of edges right here. Let's see what happens when I do that. Maybe scale them all down in a little bit further. Same with this row. So you double click on a edge and it selects the entire edge loop. Okay. Alright, I'm going to select these 4 faces here and then move them up a little bit. Alright. Alright, this is a good place to save your work. In the next video, we will continue with the nose and we'll finish up the head.